Hey, everybody, welcome back to the OG's Power Hour. So, this is a great way to begin because we're going to be celebrating with somebody today. Josh, who's not here, obviously. It's his birthday today, guys. So, if you guys know Josh Hedberg at all, reach out to him on IG, wish him a happy birthday. I'll just throw up his IG. So there you go. John Berfelo, of course, is still on courses, learning more about AI, which makes him happy, which hopefully is going to make us happy in the future as well, with what he's going to be able to add to the conversations in the future if you're into AI and how that is working. There's so much that we are learning and being able to do because of AI. I know that Leighton Morrison is looking at that as well because they're trying to catalog the biology. I know that Matt Powers is also putting a database together, and it's going to be an AI background, as far as I understand. Don't quote me on that, but we're going to be able to find out so much, that we weren't being able to find out before with the help of artificial intelligence. Hold on, guys. I just got to let Tom Landry know that, yes, we're all good for this afternoon. He's coming on with Leighton Morrison. Now, for you that don't know, Tom Landry is a grower on the east coast of Canada, and he has installed rolling beds using Leighton Morrison's horizontal soil system, and is having absolutely fantastic results in a commercial grow using that system. So, hey, Ganja Man, Rory, I saw you there earlier. Silly Lily, how you guys, everybody doing today? So, as I said, this Be Happy title can go in so many different ways, so many different directions. We talk a lot about energy, frequency, vibration, and it's all of that combined. So let's just we mentioned Josh is at the beach. I think he's still in California, so he's at the nice beach down there, and celebrating his birthday. So that's one of those things of joy and happiness that we experience basically once a year, that is supposed to bring joy and happiness. Now, doesn't always work that way with a lot of the craziness out there with families and different personalities. But when you surround yourself with that joy and that happiness, it really helps with your energy and frequency and your vibration, because it's a higher vibration. So that's one of the aspects. Now, I spelled B as in BEE. I put the image of bees on the thumbnail. For those of you that don't know, I actually am really into treatment-free beekeeping. I use a different style of hive than is you normally would see. It's actually horizontal, and has a lot of different aspects. But the bees themselves, what makes them happy, right? They are designed to be able to do different jobs. Okay, so just like in anything, you have specialists in everything. So there's specialists in gathering water and the pollen, the nectar, taking care of the larvae, taking care of the queen. And then, of course, there's the queen, the drone. So you've got a lot of specialized workers in a hive. And yes, Ganja Man, save the bees is right. And hey, Casper, the bees are so important, but all of the pollinators are important. Our bees are something that are totally different, and there's the different how would I call it, types of bees. You've got your honey bees, your mason bees, your bumblebees, etc. Then you go into the wasps. They have a totally different thing going on, and we actually use predatory wasps in gardening in an enclosed environment to help to um, control the pests that get into our environments that we need to control. So there's many different aspects. Hey, Stoned, that the bees bring into everything that I've looked at with the biology. I learned about the predator prey model, which is what we were speaking on last week. I learned that through my study of the treatment free beekeeping. They're dealing with a very um, invasive species called the varroa mite, which was basically attaching itself to the bees, and they're still prevalent right now. It wasn't the mite itself, it was um, a virus. Was it a virus or a bacteria? Anyway, they were affecting the colonies, and basically uh, the biology they were carrying interfered with the bees, and we lost a vast portion. I believe it was 95% of the wild bees. Hey, Mad Dog, in North America to this varroa mite that was causing these different infections in the bee population. So there's a very wonderful doctor on the East Coast that studied bees in the wild in a park in New York, or in a reserve, I guess you would call, national park area. And he actually didn't go out for 2 years. Once the bees started to die, it hit him, took the happiness out of his heart, knowing that all these bees were dying. And in 2 years, when he did go back in and started looking to see if there was any bees, to his amazement, he found that the bee population was almost back to normal. They all had the varroa mite. They all had these different things that would affect them, yet their biology was able to shift enough where they could actually combat those diseases that were affecting them and come back into full strength. So the predator prey, the amount of biology that the strong had, or they found access to something that gave them the strength and gave them the uh, horizontal gene transfer, like James White talks about, with the biology chain exchanging genetic information, exchanging DNA and knowledge. The bees were able to fight these diseases that came into them. Now, I know that Paul Stamets, or Dr. Paul Stamets, who's an expert on mushrooms, uh, there back after 9/11, there was a thing put out by the Department of whatever, Homeland Security, I believe it was, that they wanted to check biologicals. And so he put his fungus, so mushrooms, mycelium, against these different things, and found out that he was able to be one of the top 2 or the top 1 that actually was able to solve the problem. I won't go into it. You guys can research Paul Stamets and some of the stuff he's done. But the point being is, in the fungus, it was able to break down all these components. So I know that years ago there was another problem that the bees were having, and he was never studying bees, but he saw that the bees were coming to a certain area of a raised bed that had a lot of mycelium, and they were getting their water from there. And he saw that the bees recovered. So that this may be what happened in the wild with those bees fighting the varroa mite, that they found a source of a nutrient that they needed to bring into their systems that allowed their biology just one molecule of something that had been missing. And they were able to change their genetic code just enough to be able to come back. Now, Akana, there's so much that nature gives us in knowledge. Understanding that is, I know that Andy Lopez and I talk about rock dust a lot, about the minerals, etc., that's in your soil, um, or that you want to add to your soil and add to your system, which adds it to your plants, etc. But the biology and the water that those bees were consuming and taking back to the hive obviously had something in it from the mycelium that none of the other sources of water had. So I know that we talk with Dr. Gerald Pollock, and we've had him on the podcast a couple of times with Leighton Morrison about the importance of water and the different aspects, the different things that water does that we never knew or understood. It is a combination of everything. And one of the things that I guess I have a gift for is connecting dots, or overlaying patterns that, mesh into the different aspects of life on our planet. So taking the bees and looking at the strongest structure on our planet is that hexagonal that you will see in a beehives that bees grow to put their honey in, and their larvae, their eggs, etc. in. But that shape is one of the strongest known to man. Um, and this is coming from nature because she has found these keys and been able to overlay those on many different aspects. When we lose something like those bees that were lost in New York, the 95% that you know um, weren't strong enough, didn't have access to these changes in their genetics, it was only 2 years for the bees to come back. Now, if something like that happened to our species, it wouldn't be 2 years for us to come back. Um, we take a little bit longer than bees and how bees repopulate, but we could come back, and that is what gives me hope every day, and makes me happy. Sharing this information and these understandings, these little quirks that I have found, these puzzle pieces with you guys, gives me meaning, gives me happiness and joy to be able to share a little bit of the understandings that I've been able to find, the different correlations that I've been able to find and experience in the years that I've been here, and being able to share that with you guys and expand your knowledge and understanding to take it to new levels that I'm not even seeing. The smartest people you ever meet, my friends, are going to look at you and go, "No, I'm not smart. I only know this much. There's all of this to learn." And no one person in the life's expanse of humanity right now is going to be able to learn that all. And that's where, they talk about, people coming back over and over and over to learn those lessons. And that's one of the things that Johnny B talks about, is we're living this life to learn. We're here to experience, to grow, to understand more and more each time that we interact using these bodies. It's the biology that runs our bodies, our energy, our frequency, our vibration is the energy that surrounds us. Now, if you guys watched the show last week with Dennis Meehan, Leighton mentioned some research where they're showing that the plants can actually recognize the different colors of clothing that you're wearing when you go into your garden. It's amazing that all of this is happening at a time where there's this energetic upheaval that is rising the vibration on our planet to new heights. When we understand the interconnections that everything has, the plants, the animals, us, and it's all interconnected, not through thought yet until we can develop that way to communicate, but through our biological systems, through the water that's in our bodies. The energies are flowing that we don't even see, that we don't understand. We're just scratching the surface. And yet, on the biologic level, which we mainly, or I would say most people don't understand just how intelligently organized that level is. We don't have the capability of transferring that genetic knowledge like the biology is doing at the speed of you know light. Basically, it's transferring genetic diversity, DNA understandings. I know I spoke a little bit, I think with Andy on quorum sensing and how or maybe it was on Leighton, but anyway, sorry. Quorum sensing is an essence of understanding. It's a gathering of all of the knowledge. When we talk about the halls of Alexandria, the knowledge, the library, that knowledge, that's all what quorum sensing is. It's a gathering of knowledge and understanding into a very small area, or what we would consider a small area, and being able to create something, whether it's a biological component that's not there or some type of biology, to go out and mine specific components. So I know I really haven't given a lot of context for quorum sensing, but you'll find that Dr. Johnson, who developed the Johnson Sioux bioreactors, mentioned it. That's where I got the concept from. But years ago, probably 15, 18 years ago, I ran across an experiment that had been done. I was researching tomatoes because, guys, I remember I grow a lot of uh, more vegetables, etc., than I ever have the cannabis. So when I was researching growing the tomatoes, I ran across a study where the scientists had taken one component out of the soil structure, and that component was boron. So understand the tomato plant is not going to be healthy if it doesn't have a certain amount of boron in its cell structure. It's one of the components that it is has to have for health. So the scientists said that they took the boron out of the soil structure. They put their plants in, or their seeds in, sprouted the seeds. They were never healthy through the entire cycle, um, but they survived, right? They never produced really nice fruit, etc. But at the end of the cycle, they tested the soil and they found that boron was in that soil. So the biology had been able to create something that wasn't in the soil structure by combining the molecules at the molecular level to create boron. So when I understood that back then, and then I heard this concept of quorum sensing, I overlapped the two. And that's where I talk about overlapping the dots coming together in this picture. That's really what quorum sensing is. It's the creation of the biology that can create that in a soil structure by combining all of those different molecules. It's finding those keys, those genetic codes, sequences, DNAs, RNAs, And I take it back, of course, to the S phase of the building the house itself before you put on the lipstick and mascara, which is your RNA and DNA. But to build the house, to get it closed in, dried in, as we would call in the construction industry, you need that base structure and you need the biology that builds it at that cell. So it needs to also gather everything, all the components, the water molecules, the calcium, the carbon, the manganese, etc., etc. So much goes into that house that the biology is going to be living in. And when it's transferring all that information, and yes, Casper, biochar, it is a great way to have that quorum sensing added into the system, because biochar doesn't really break down. That carbon molecule is in a state where it's going to take millennia for it to actually break down. So you've got the halls of Alexandria in that each cube of biochar that you have in there just don't have an overabundance. They'll put it out of balance in a different direction. But to get back to the point, I overlaid the two understandings together, and when I connected those dots, it was an epiphany in my mind that it's able to do this. And when you look at Gerald Pollock and how he was talking about water and how the energetic combination of the hexagonal structure that overlaps itself and then goes into a synchronicity where things can flow through. Look at that energetically and on a molecular level where it's passing structures in. So look at it as the subway. If you've ever been on a subway system, you walk up, the door is open, you go in, the door is closed, and your train keeps going. Is that what's happening at the molecular level of the water, of what Gerald Pollock talks about as the fourth phase of water, those straws? And then we look at, how fungal hyphae, and now they're able to see the phosphorus in it. They can actually see the structure. They can see things like that happening. The science, the technology is advancing at tremendous rates, and we're starting to be able to see some of these interactions. Hey, Pimp Jam. I hope I'm not missing anybody, because, guys, I'm really not focused on the chat. But anyway, it's those interactions that make me happy. So I can be happy seeing these advancements, putting these dots together. And that's how I came up with It's All About the Biology, because I took it so deep. I searched out those whys. Why does it work this way and not that way? It's like, come on, guys, this is so easy. And yet it's so complicated. I know that science explains and theorizes, and they have to go through these steps that it's got to quantify. It's got to quantify. The numbers have to add up. Where when you're dealing with this system around us, Mother Nature, what has been created on this planet, hey, Mad Dog, it's at a totally different level. And I'm going to get interrupted here. So hold on a second, guys. Yes, dear. Oh, yes. Still got a half hour. I got 36 minutes. Lily just came down and said, "Yeah, talk about bees and cannabis," because that's another aspect as well that we're going to get into in a few minutes here, guys. But to get back onto the interconnection of it all, it's so good to be able to bring everything together and do basically quorum sensing on our network, bringing different energies, different understandings, different perspectives into different conversations with different people, is how we can share things that you would never even think of. and take you in directions that you would never expect to go. I researched beekeeping before I ever researched the biology. I had actually expected to be teaching beekeeping and treatment-free beekeeping, the horizontal layings hive system. Um, that's where I thought I was going to be. I had researched that because I understood how important bees are and our pollinators are. And then I found the biology, and I found Leighton Morrison and what he was talking about, and followed a bunch of understandings there. And all of a sudden, I found out that no, if I don't look at the biology and focus on the biology, the bees aren't going to be here anyway, because without fixing this, it's all gone. So that's why I'm doing this instead of out there building beehives and swarm traps and teaching about beekeeping. I'm here talking about this stuff. The journey that I have taken to come to the understandings that I have come to has been um, interesting, I think would be the best way to put it. It's been exciting. It's been mystifying. I have answers to questions that I haven't found the questions for, which is kind of annoying. But hey, I just keep looking. I keep listening to more and more voices. And I don't just look in a specific area of science to find answers that correlate to a wholly different area. That's one of the reasons that I find a lot of the scientists that I like to follow are multidisciplinary. So they didn't start out in this discipline. They've gone through different steps, different phases of understanding. And in being able to do that, they're able to take the different understandings and bring them together into one. And that's basically how my brain works. Is I listen to many voices. And that's why one of the reasons that I say that a lot is listen to many voices, pick the ones that resonate with you, listen to them, but don't not listen to other voices. Find more voices on that topic, because there's people that find different aspects, that are looking at different areas and have their own understandings, their own life experiences to add to the conversation. That's what I try to do constantly, is find new voices that I can listen to in different areas of understanding that I want to have, whether that's building sciences, whether that's biology, whether that's bees, whether that's herbalism, health, the energy side of things. Um, if you guys saw my history on YouTube, you go, "Oh my God, this guy's nuts," because I'm all over the place. Um, but in being all over the place, I'm able to bring people together that wouldn't normally interact. Um, that's one of the reasons that I started this channel. It was for me to be able to bring people into the conversations, and I was able to learn from those conversations. When I reached out to, say, Gerald Pollock, um, I didn't have a clue if he would respond positively to come on to the show. And believe me, I'm extremely joyful that he has and will continue coming on to the network, because of who we are. This network is all about caring, sharing, and community. It's about being happy. It's about raising our vibrations as well as our knowledge and understanding. Because in raising the knowledge and understanding, we raise the vibrations. It's that synergistic relationship. It's that quorum sensing that we do, and we've done enough research to know that you bring more than one person in a conversation, and you get an exponential rise in the IQ in that room. You bring in another person, and there's another rise in IQ. So this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring, hey, Amadeus, into the aspect of knowledge and understanding that I can share with you guys today, with what I'm going to find in the future, what Leighton's finding in the future. Like, some of the research that Leighton Morrison is doing is next level understanding of how we can break down components that, people were just like, these forever chemicals. They're cracking that. I see such possibilities that are going to be coming to us now and in the future. That's why I have this silly ass grin on my face, because I can see that we can fix this. We can solve the problems. We just got to get through this craziness, but that's the next level coming into existence, a different understanding that if we want to stay here as a species on this planet, that we're going to have to fix the biology that builds the physical structures that us as the energy that inhabits these bodies needs to have if we want to inhabit a body. Is without the biology, which is more than 90% of the genetic code in you is biological, we need to fix that. So no, I'm gonna jump on to Lily's topic before she comes back down, gives me a hard time again. Yes, please, guys, hit the like button. Leave comments on the actual video after, and for you guys that are watching this after the live stream, those really do help the algorithm to push out the information we're sharing. So um and thanks, Ganja Man, for slamming the hearts. So anyway, the bees in biology. Hey Hunt, glad to see you, man. um I know I asked, or I actually found a bit of research or heard something in the grapevine when I was listening to different voices that had talked about cannabis honey. Okay, so the first thing that popped into my head was, they're taking bud and they're throwing it in a jar of honey, letting it sit, just like they would do with roses, or they do with roses and etc. Rose hips, to get different flavors into the honey. And I had heard that, this cannabis honey was amazing stuff. So I did a little bit more research, and hey, super, so go. Um, and then I actually asked Mr. Toad about it, Tony, and he sent me some studies. I believe they were out of Israel, somewhere in the Middle East, where they actually had created a cannabis flower honey. So the bees going out collecting pollen and nectar, bringing it back to the hive, and all they had in their area was cannabis. Now, understand that bees don't have an endocannabinoid system, so the THC would never affect a bee. Okay, so the THCA molecules, of course, hasn't been heated, hasn't been decarboxylated, hasn't have that acid molecule knocked off yet. So they were gathering the pollen, etc., bringing it back to the hive. So it wasn't someone taking a bud and putting it in a jar of honey and letting it do its thing in there to draw everything out. It was actually the pollen and the nectar from the cannabis plant. Now, understanding bees have an area that they cover. So if you only have a certain plant, then that's all the bees are going to be able to feed on in that geographic area, basically a couple of miles. Okay. So they had actually set it up where that's all the bees had. So they monocropped. That's one of the problems, because their bees aren't going to be as healthy because they have just the one monocrop to feed from. But they found that this amazing honey, a true cannabis honey, was created, and I believe it was 1 or 2 drops a day for most pain. So I haven't followed really up on that, guys. I was going to be capturing my own bees. And what I was going to do, and something else that correlates and keys in here, is your fermented plant juice. Okay, an FPJ in Korean natural farming, taking plant material, breaking it down using osmotic pressure to draw the liquids out of the cell structure and put them into the water structure, pulling the biological into that, being able to feed that back into our plants. Now, the one group in Hawaii that I was following at the time for Korean natural farming had yeah, it was them that took someone out with somebody else's video, but sorry, sidetrack. They went out, and there's a period with bees called the dearth. That's basically when they don't have anything. They can't collect pollen. There's no nectar to collect, etc. So they're very, very bad time for bees. They're using up the resources that are in the hive instead of going out gathering resources to bring back to the hive. So a lot of beekeepers will feed their bees at that time so that they are not having to use resources that the beekeeper wants, which is, guess what? Honey. So they'll feed. And I watched guys in Hawaii that took, and they were, wasn't cannabis. It was, I want to say chamomile. Anyway, it was a very abundant plant there that they had made an FPJ out of, which uses the cane sugar, brown sugar, and they were using that to feed the bees. And the flavor from just that section was a different color of honey on the honeycomb. So they had pulled out the frame, and they were actually tasting the honey from that particular section, and they were tasting the plant, and the flavonoids that were developed in the honey was really correlated with the plant that they had been feeding through the FPJ. So can we do that with the cannabis plant? Well, yes, we can. We know how to make a fermented plant juice out of our cannabis plant, using just the leaf structure. Is it going to be the same as doing it with flowers? I don't know. Somebody would have to experiment to find out, and no, that's not going to be me. But that's an experiment, a way to try to get the same general outcome that was found in, and I believe it was Israel. It was somewhere where in that area in the Middle East where they were able to do this, and they actually have it patented over there. So, as a medical patient myself, that'd be something that I would be interested in. Now, I do have cannabis honey upstairs that I use in my tea. It's a legal product, so there's not really very much there. I don't know what their process is, but it's not bad. Okay. So that's the cannabis honey side. that anybody can try if they have access to their own bees and a size property where they can create that same system. So that mile buffer, 2 mile buffer of other fruiting and flowering plants. So the different methods of consumption of the cannabinoid is really at the extremes of science right now. They're trying to crack those codes and figure out how they can manipulate other plants to produce the same cannabinoids that we find in a cannabis plant. They will crack that. We see a lot of different technologies and understandings, new methods coming out as the further we're going down in both the scientific understandings of biology, but in also the understandings of how these things are put together. So I talk about it's all about the biology because that putting together of that structure is done by the biology. Any cell that we see has been built by the biology. The biology has gathered all the building materials, it's created the building materials, breaking it down out of, in our guts, it's what we eat, and the soil, it's the sand, silt, clay, and organic material. It takes all of that and it builds things with it, builds a new cell with it. Your plant, your bee, your body, your animals, your cats, your dogs, everything that is built on this planet is done by cell division. It's done and built by the biology. That's where I focus everything in my mind with that in the back of my mind. So I look at the coffee, I look at the cup, the different structures that we have. Is there any biology inside of this metal? I don't think so, but I don't know. Anything's possible. And that's what I want. Another aspect I would like you guys to understand, and something that I like to say is nothing is impossible. It may be highly unlikely, improbable, but it's not impossible. Impossible would that be that brick wall that could never be broken. We, as the human species, like to find ways around the rules. That's one of the aspects of our species that uh, I think amazes me, and I think would amaze any alien species that we would interact with. Is we're problem solvers, we're creators. Our biology creates, with form sensing. We're part of that. We're able to tap into that on the energetic side, and we're able to heal people. That some people may not believe in energy healing. They may think that it's all the woo-woo. But then last week, Leighton Morrison and Dennis Meehan talking about the microscope that goes into the soil that can see these things now happening, about the research being done on plants being able to see the color of your shirt. Oh, he's wearing yellow today. The interactions on the energetic is our learning mechanism for our spirit, our energy, our quorum sensing is coming to this planet and living this life, interacting with more things, more aspects, more understandings, growing ourselves, our understandings, and our ability to see things that others don't really look at. I never looked at walking across the ground, walking across an information highway, a neural network that's underneath that grass that I'm growing, that communicates on a scale that I have no comprehension of. it's so far beyond us that it scares us. Um, I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of people pull back from the deeper understanding that biology is a hell of a lot smarter than we are. It's able to do things that we simply can't. It understands your genetic code to the extent where it can rewrite it, pick the nutrients that you have available to build a cell, and build that cell. And if it doesn't have all of the components to build a healthy cell, it can literally sit, it can wait for a while, months, years, I don't know. But I know it can wait a significant amount of time. Science has proven that already, that it can wait. And if it doesn't wait, then you have a free radical in your body, a cell that isn't healthy. It's all done by the biology. The biology is there to build healthy cells, to read your genetic code, to share your genetic code across different aspects of the biological system that is in you to fight disease, to fight the common cold. Your white blood cells, gee whiz, your red blood cells, the interaction, the um, knowledge being transferred by horizontal gene transfer. It's transferring genes, genetic codes, and going, oh, I just brought this bad virus into my body when I breathed, or it just landed on my skin and was absorbed. And it starts to research everything it can find on that enemy. Okay, so it's the intelligence service of the biology goes to work and goes, hey guys, we got an invader. And then it starts looking at the genetic codes. It looks at all the available compounds that it has to build something, the battleship to go and fight against this enemy that has entered our body. That's the same in the plant. That's the same in the animal. The biology looks at it, if it can find it, and that's where cancer, it produces an enzyme, a hormone. I can't remember the proper phrase, but it produces something that allows it to slip by. So you could look at it as the Klingons and their force shield, and they're invisible. Oh man, you can't find them. It's stealth. But we've also found that at the same time, there's components that we can bring into our system that activate something else in our biological matrix that allows us, or the biology, those battleships, to go out and find those unhealthy cells and pull that stealth off. That's all done by the biology, though. It's done by giving the biology the necessary components, the building blocks that it needs to have to build those battleships, to be able to overcome something that is hiding itself. And science is finding these things. And I believe, Lily, if you want to put up the research that we watched, I believe it's with Dr. Lee on which the name of the specific thing that we need in the mucus in our stomachs that creates the compound that takes the stealth off of a cancer cell. And I don't know if she could find the link. If Lily, if you can find the link to that video, maybe throw it up in the chat. It's the synchronicity of these understandings that we have all found, whether it's Lily's found this doctor that talked about this, shown that to me, I'm going to share that with you guys. That's what a lot of this is. It is our community. It is gardeners. It is people that understand different aspects of the matrix that we live in. It is people that want to share that, to give knowledge. But for me, that's one of the reasons I tell people many voices, because not everybody has the understanding that they say they have. Not even me. I find new things and change my understandings. I try on a daily basis to find something new, to learn something new every single day. Um, the doctor that I came up and sat down, I think Dr. Lee, he was talking with the other doctor on the video, and they were talking about cancer and the component that's needed in our mucus to expose the cancer cells. Hopefully, Lily, that is enough clues to the video we watched. So where was I? Bringing it back to that knowledge and understanding in many voices. This is a doctor that went from being strictly on the normal side to starting to look at nutrition and different things, different aspects. But he found this one component that is very easily disrupted in our systems, that lives in our stomach, in the mucus area. I want to call it biofilm because that's what it's called for your fish. It's that biofilm on the outside of them, the slime. In plants, we talk about biofilm, bringing everything together and holding it together. In our systems, that biofilm is necessarily for this one biological component to live in our systems, to go and expose the cancer cells. And I can't go any further because I'm drawing a blank on what the doctor was calling it, but it's a specific thing that we need in our bodies, that our environment, the foods that we eat, the medicines that we take, are not allowing our bodies to develop and maintain. So we need to understand these things. We need to listen to these different voices, and then we need to be the lit candle, like you're seeing off my left shoulder. One lit candle can light many without ever diminishing its own light. We need to all be those candles. We need to share knowledge and information that we find with our friends, with our families, with our coworkers, to help expand understandings that most people would never even consider, would never look at, the cells of their hand as being built and maintained by the biology in their bodies. And that biology needs the components to build healthy cells. These understandings, these deeper connections, if you guys can share those with people, and the understanding spreads more and more, and that's why I do this. That's why Leighton does this, is to help bring those understandings. Andy's been doing this for decades. He's written books. It's in the understandings that we can be happy. It's in the understandings that we can create joy in other people's understandings. When you see somebody light up and go, oh, well, hey, that makes sense now. When we can uncomplicate this, because there's so much in science that is so far above people's heads, like it's way in the stratosphere. But taking that higher understandings, breaking it down into common sense principles, sharing those principles with people, using the analogies of building a house, the structure of the cell, the DNA and RNA is the lipstick and mascara, where the S phase is the house itself. Sharing those types of understandings. And there we go. Dr. William Lee talked about the microbiome and cancer, etc. So check out Dr. William Lee. He's cracked a few of those codes. So you're definitely going to want to check that out for everybody's health. Okay. So where was I? Oh, man. I got to have a drink. Hold on. Coffee. So talking about being happy and bringing that joy, understanding that you guys are out there sharing this information with the people around you makes me very happy. People, in our chat, interacting with each other in the live chat and sharing knowledge and information, experiences that they've had, bringing to the table more voices. I so appreciate you guys that show up for the live streams, that consistently come back and share your knowledge and understanding. I really, and there Lily just put up in the live chat, and I'll put it up into the screen here. That's the video that Dr. Lee had. It's you guys that make me happy. It's my wife, my dogs, my plants, my mental attitude of waking up in the morning and deciding that I'm going to have a damn good day. I'm going to have, an energetic, happy day. I'm going to help others. That makes me happy. And so being happy, we've got the bees, we've got the honey, we've got many different aspects. And I want to point out one other thing on the bees that I wish was an aspect I could convince my biology, hey Pambama, to integrate into my system, is the honeybee has this gift of colored sight, that when they leave the hive, they can see things in color. So they also have this ability of when they go out and they fill up with nectar and pollen and they want to go back to the hive, that they can turn the color vision off and go black and white. So think of that, guys, that in their tiny little bodies, they have the ability to turn off their colored vision. And why? Is because it saves resources, because they have to burn the honey that they're creating, because that's what they're feeding on. And they don't want to burn that resource because they want to bring as much back into the hive as they possibly can. Now, you want to talk about efficiency, guys? Okay, standard operating procedures. Look at the bees. Okay, they are absolutely amazing. You look at the different types of bees, the bumblebee compared to the honeybee. And just for anybody that doesn't understand your tomato plants, if you have them indoors right now and you don't have any pollinators, you actually have to tap your tomatoes. I actually have tomatoes inside of the grow right now. I had a bunch of tomatoes come up by themselves, but I've been tapping and I have little tomatoes. Bumblebees are the ones that pollinate tomatoes. They are a larger bee and can do the shaking, where honeybees don't have the size to do the shaking on tomatoes. So that was the last little information drop, guys. I love you all. Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you this afternoon with Tom Landry, Leighton Morrison. And hopefully Josh should be back hopefully next week. He can join us as basically a special host every once in a while. And hopefully John, I think, has done choruses here next week, and he should be back. But peace out, everybody. Love you all, and you guys will see you